Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Gibson. We're live streaming today with you with Bobby. We're on our session 11. Basically, we're going to find out what is her happiness button today. Happiness is probably one of those words that's most elusive, and people are always trying to find themselves in a set of circumstances where they can find their having some audio problems here. I think I'll get it. There we go. And we'll get Bobby in here in a couple seconds. And I'd like to first share with you, we're not traditional therapists by any stretch of the imagination, although you can imagine a good therapist. We're pretty good at what we do. And we've trained people all over the world to become norm therapists. As well, we are actually providing norm therapy sessions for those of you who need abuse care. We'll be more than happy to speak with you. You can schedule yourself in and become a partner. Just go to normtherapy.com. And when you go to Norm Therapy, you'll always find everything you need there. And if you don't find what you need at normtherapy.com, go to the nonprofit that we undergird, and that's G-O-A-R-O, Go Arrow. That stands for Abuse Refuge Org, goarrow.org. And you'll be able to find the same information and scheduling, as well as all of the different tools and goodies that we have over there for you. Right now, I'm going to let Bobby in. And Bobby's coming in now, and see if we can keep Bobby happy. How you doing today, Bobby? You okay?
I'm well. I'm very busy. I was very busy today.
Really? Is that a
Yeah,
productive busy or a busy work?
productive busy.
Really?
Just
Without
getting
going into much detail, or unless you'd like to, tell us about your day.
just getting some end of the year, although it's into the beginning, end of the year appointments out of the way and some onboarding stuff completed and
For your new
you know,
job.
yeah, yeah.
Yay! You think you'll like it
Things
there?
yes, and they're going to create a new position actually that combines what I already have with some of the new certifications that I'm getting for a intake specialist,
Mm-hmm.
clinical and substance use, so mental
Wow.
health, and so I'll be the first case management position for an intake coordinator that they've had, and they're merging a couple of sites into one. So I'll have a caseload for a brief amount of time and then
See where it goes from there.
soft, soft skill them and hand them off to who their primary will be.
That is wonderful. Congratulations. I'm very proud of you. Very, very. You ever heard of, you ever seen a movie, Pulp Fiction?
Yes, I have.
Do you remember the phrase, big brain on bread? Big brain on bread. You ever remember that one? I laugh every time I say it. It's good that the brain housing group, your mind and your skill sets are coming together in your personal life and in your professional life. Most people try to accomplish that in their entire lives and don't get there. Told you were a tough cookie. Um, I think the majority of your problems in life have always stemmed from you. Now it seems like the majority of your solutions are stemming from you as well. Most people like to get there, most people don't. I guess the cemetery is full of them who tried and just gave up. But you, on the other hand, you are every time we talk, you're doing something additional to your proactive uh, lifestyle that you've decided to choose and to champion and to follow through on. It's not a bad thing. So tell me now, how do you feel about yourself? What are those feelings that you're experiencing right
It's overwhelming joy for me. It's joyful. It's joy. It's um, humbleness. It's kindness. Just
now? Gratification? Very gratifying, isn't it? I
yeah,
told you that sometimes when people do things for you, and they did something for you, they brought you on, they even chiseled out a new position for you. That's how special you are. When people do things for you, it's not always that you get a lot out of it, but they probably got a lot more out of it doing it because they see in you something that they can not only utilize and find your greatness, but also they can feel good about the best choice that they could have made. And that's why you're there. That's a good thing. So if you acknowledge that at the same time, you're acknowledging your gratification, which is tearful, and it's okay. Tears of joy are always welcomed. It's a way of the body cleansing itself, believe it or not, and bringing all of that angst and tension and all of that demand down to a doable task. And you made feeling good about you doable. Not bad at all for a good Tuesday, I think. Not bad at all, Bobby. Very proud of you. So with that joy, you said, and I'm going to use your words, what does that look like? Can you describe for us what joy looks like to you?
Joy to me is a feeling that I get in my chest. It's overwhelming in my mind, but it's a feeling that starts in my chest. And then, words start coming to my mind like provider, caretaker, stability. And it brings me joy because in order for me to keep the things that I have learned and the things that I have been through and overcome, in order to keep those things, I have to give that back, whether I'm giving that as a volunteer, and whether I'm giving that to a stranger on the street, at the grocery store, in a work capacity, as a coworker, as a mother, as a wife. Like, those are things that bring my heart warm feelings that at one point in me I thought would never happen again. And I have to say that with all humbleness, because I detached from my emotions. And I think we talked about this not too long ago. Like, I had to be the same way all the time because either I didn't feel safe or I didn't feel secure. But my, for lack of better terms, resting bitch face got me and saved me in a lot of different areas. But it
We all
also
have
hurt
that.
me in a lot of different areas. So
You're right.
it
You're
just,
absolutely correct.
being
You have
able
to put
to,
it on.
yeah. And to be able to know that, like, I'm going to be the first person to give a warm welcome. Like, I'm allowed to smile now. I'm allowed to drop my guard and be in a safe space with other people who have a lot of similarities, that's been through the same things, that maybe need some help, maybe some don't, maybe some are coworkers. Like, I don't think I could have picked a better mix of individuals who I'm also going to be able to, like, do my practicum stuff there. So, and kind of step into other hats and see how that works. And that's why that position was created, so that joy comes from a place of goodness that sometimes I don't like to show or haven't been allowed to show.
Well, when you're being humbled, and they've humbled you by believing in you and putting you in a position to do great things. When you're being humbled like this, that level of humility is something you take with you into other endeavors, into other situations, into other relationships, because now you have a point of reference, of humility and how you should be perceived and how you should respond and react in those circumstances where humility is something that you need to exercise. It's not a bad thing that they're doing. And for the job, that's great. But in real time and in real life, in your personal life, that humility is going to go a long way. But the
Yeah,
people
because
around you, go ahead.
I've struggled with humility a lot in my life. I've struggled with it. I've struggled with having a sense of entitlement. I've struggled with that when I broke free of some of the chains that held me, and then automatically thinking that I was deserving. And so I've struggled there. It hasn't always been easy, and it still is something I struggle with today, but I make a conscious decision, when I practice mindfulness in the morning, when I read my devotions or my, little scriptures or whatever the focus is for the day, or the prayer for the day, or just the thought for the day, and I allow that inner pouring to take place, and it usually lasts me throughout the day.
So
It's not
taking it
something that
step
I
by
can,
step.
yeah, it's not something that I can afford to take lightly, and it's not something that I can afford to take every couple of 3 or 4 days. It needs to happen every day.
Absolutely. And that discipline that you're deploying right now, that you're actually using to your benefit, instead of being stoic and resistant and still, as you've been many times in your life, you said, I've just allowed those decision-making times to just pass me by. You're actually actively involved in your decision-making process. So you're no longer just still sitting there swatting flies. You're going after the flies and swatting them. And not a bad day. Not a bad day at all, I would say. Do you feel happy?
I do. I do. It's like a sense of accomplishment for me,
Mhm.
because it's like I've been spinning my wheels and slowly sinking in quicksand and just kind of grasping at straws. And, you know, then it was like all at once, I had so many different things hit me at once that I was the one got to pick and choose what and
How does
where.
that feel? How does that feel?
Yeah, and that feels pretty good.
Career, the new strategies, the new teachings that you provide, and this would be in the category of not the facade, because facade is fake, it's temporary, it's transient, it goes with whatever activity. But this is kind of another part of Bobby that you have to create, or to further extend, because I think you're already that person. But you have to extend that person into the workplace, and that's normally an alter ego. And the alter ego is more permanent, it's real, it's a persona you need to become while you're at the workplace and dealing with those workplace issues. And even every now and then, family issues pop up over the phone. What happened? What you mean they set the house on fire? No, not hopefully that's never the case, but you still have to deal with some family issues at work. But that's your alter ego. And alter egos can stay with you your entire life. You're not you're schizophrenic, you're not bipolar, you're not any of those other things that will require a different set of skills to deal with your personality. You're just creating an extension of yourself that operates well in another environment, that professional environment that you've always longed to be a part of, because you've gone down that hard road to get there, to have the experiential knowledge and now the education along with the position in order to respond to the needs of that community of people who will come to your doorstep with needs indicative of your experiences and your, most importantly, your outcomes. You've had some pretty positive outcomes as of late. And
Speaking of personal issues while all this was going on, so just briefly, my son Robert left last night, ended up at a youth shelter here in Columbus. Somebody called, said, hey, he's standing outside, doesn't look well. Drove down by there, didn't see him. I get a call from the bus driver, Coda bus driver today. It says, hey, I got your son, because he doesn't look like he's going to be 19 in January 21st. He looks like he's about 15. So this Coda bus driver was concerned, and she's like, hey, man, I got your son on the bus. Doesn't look well. I don't know what's been going on, but he's, running with a crowd that I'm particularly aware of. Maybe he doesn't look like he's had a lot of sleep. And so I didn't know, if he made the cut on getting in the door. Did he sleep in the cold? Like, this is all stuff that worried me all last night. So I had to facilitate getting him from the bus driver, she said, like, I'll keep him on my bus and we'll just keep going round and round until somebody comes to get him. And I had to tell her, like, he's an adult and he's very much capable of making decisions, but sometimes doesn't make the best decisions. So my husband and his twin brother went and picked him up at the bus stop, met the bus driver. That was very, very I was so grateful for it because I worried a lot all night till I was like up and down all night long, just looking and waiting. And, I don't know what could have happened. And I haven't
Your
even got a chance.
expectations?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's apparently sleeping now because he's not with the rest of us downstairs. And,
I understand. Keep talking. Tell me. So what was going through your heart when he was, I mean, it's just like every other mom, of course, but you have special understandings that we've kind
yeah.
of glossed over a little bit about him. But what were your thoughts?
Was he with people who were doing drugs? Did somebody give him something that, because he's just like, he's very friendly, he's very personable, very likable kid, guy, whatever, however you want to address it. He's on the spectrum and he's got that comprehension piece that's missing. And sometimes he needs that nudging and guidance, and he has a tendency to morph into his surroundings, which these youth shelters they're not the best place for someone of any age that they take, let alone someone with a developmental disability. So I didn't know if he knew the time and did he have to go sleep on the tracks, and was he cold and was he hungry?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel your heart. I
And
feel
so
it.
he's home, and I just wish that everyone in my home would understand that he'll forever be a child. He'll forever be that. I'm going to laugh at this. I'm going to stare at you for a while, and I'm probably going to make you feel uncomfortable, kid.
He's
I don't
naive.
pay,
He's
yeah,
naive.
very. I don't pay it any attention anymore. I'll say, well, what's up, and he knows, like, he's always going to call for his mom. And so,
I
like I
understand.
said, I
People are
wasn't
taking
able to get
advantage of
him.
him. People are taking advantage of him because he's on the spectrum and they
They
understand.
have, yeah, they have. And this is when he journeys out because somewhere along the line, someone told him, like, when you're 18, you can do what you want to do. Well, yeah, you can, but there's also rules that you have to follow in this home. And it's only for your safety. Like, these doors lock at 11, but mine stayed open last night because he wasn't here. And I didn't hear from him. Is that dangerous? Yeah, that's dangerous for the family on the inside of the house, as well as him being out into the community. So, but I do have supports coming. I got a ICANN's assessment on Friday to get Village Network involved with him, and they will help me set up some stuff
Phone
for him.
tracking, all that kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah,
yep, yep,
you definitely need it. It's important that you have a tracker on him because of his inability to distinguish between what is good, for the lack of a better term, or bad for him. He
yeah,
doesn't get to the level of useful and usefulness or uselessness. He goes from good to bad instead of useful and useless. And I
yeah,
guess discerning those two things at the same time, so it could be quite confusing for some people. But
yeah.
these youth places these youth facilities, you call them, what are they called?
They're youth shelters
Youth
so
shelters.
there's so many homeless people here in Columbus that they have them broke down. I don't know if it's like family shelters, individual, women, men, and then they have youth, which is like 14 to 21. And so it's really sad because they can only take so many youth every night. They don't have, I mean, their overflows are filled. And so the ones that don't make the cut, so to speak, have to go somewhere to find, shelter. And when he did this back in the summer, it was a lot different because it was warm. And he had somebody with a little bit of sense to say, hey, let me come show you how to tear these stuffed animals apart, put them in a bag. We'll create a blanket. and I have a tent made up here on these tracks, and we'll make the cut in the morning because we'll be one of the first ones down there. So, but it's not summer and it's cold, and he just had he had a coat and stuff on, but it's hard to tell if he even had any socks on. Like
Describe these
it's
youth
just that
shelters to me, Bobby. The youth shelter. Now,
they
is it a congregate, an area for congregants or participants to stand around and learn from each other how to do bad things or
absolutely.
each other, or explain that to me?
Absolutely.
You did
Well,
that?
the last time that he was there and he came back and shared, he said that there's younger kids go and they have guns and they hide them on the railroad tracks, and they're gang banging and selling dope, and and this is all somebody had broken his watch and stole his phone, and he's there and he's just playing basketball, and I guess they got like hard plastic chairs, lounge chairs that you sleep in for overflow. And what he likes is the interaction with people of his age group mentality, the younger, kids. And what he doesn't realize is that he can get that at the Y or at church or, other
Why
places.
don't he get that? Why don't he get that?
Well, he doesn't want to go. He kind of, like I said, I don't know where he got the information, because he does work 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, same hours, so he doesn't forget, and structure is very important to him. Well, it's important to me because if he doesn't have it, things go haywire for him. And so I don't know if it was someone.
His OCD? Is that a form of his OCD, or is it a
Well,
form?
just being on the spectrum without structure kind of makes your emotions all over the place. So you really have to maintain like a strict schedule for, this is what time you get up, this is what time you have to be in bed by. It's detrimental to their functioning in life.
Good.
From what I've experienced.
So when he misses it, he loses. He goes haywire.
Yeah. Like he probably stayed up all night long, and it's hard to tell. Whatever the case, the bus driver was sent in by divine appointment, I believe, to kind of advocate on his behalf. Like, hey, he doesn't look well, and
that was a blessing. That was truly very fortunate.
Yeah. And I've had some really good people that has been able to attach to him when they've seen him lingering around in these places, or he'll have a pocket full of money and be up to Kroger's panhandling. And, he works, he takes his card, he swipes, does what, that's your money. You work for it. Am I going to condone you buying things that you're not supposed to? No, I'm not. But I'm going to try to lead you the best way that I can. And that's by example. And so,
but sometimes you need to spell out to them, this is a no-no. This will get you in trouble forever. Sometimes you need to officiate, referee that circumstance, because you are the authority figure in his life. And
correct.
So maybe authorizing him not to do certain things and authorizing him to do certain things could be both benefit to him. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe you should take that approach if I were you. So when he's doing the right thing in life, he's doing the right thing, and his life is functioning and moving along, and he's not in trouble, and he's on his schedule. Does he take medication?
Yeah, we got the shot so that he doesn't have to worry about taking it, every day, just his nighttime meds that he has to take at night. And there's a couple through the day if he needs them.
Well, he's human. He's a human being, responsive, active, and trying to, coexist with everyone else.
Yeah.
Does that make you happy?
It does. It does. It makes me happy when he wins on the Xbox game, because he's good. He's a lot better than his brother or my husband. And so because it makes him happy, it makes me happy. Or when he's really playing basketball, he's good. He's good at what he does because he sits and he watches and he studies it, and he'll put it on YouTube, like the game, just different games, real games. And he learns by memorization. And so he'll memorize a play and then he'll use it. So
Execute.
yeah, yeah. And he does it in person too, and I'll always tease him. I'll say, you don't have to worry, because he's only like 110 pounds soaking wet, and he's 5'11 probably. So he's tall and lanky, and he's good at 3-pointers. And I said, don't worry about it, bub. You ain't got to go in the paint. I said, you're a splash boy. Like I'll boost his boost his ego up.
There you go.
So,
That's joy. That's joy. You got to the best place you can be at that moment with your son, and you've given him what he needs to be nurtured, as well as he's given himself the same as well. So if that makes you happy, then how much of your time, let's say on a scale of a 1 to 100%, how much of your time is spent being truly happy?
50.
50%. That's high, but okay, I'm gonna go with that. So 50% of the time you're happy. Okay. How much?
I'll say it's a toss up right now.
We can massage the numbers. Let's just start with 50.
Okay.
It's okay. All right. Now, how much of that 100%, because you already used 50, are you spending being sad or in despair?
27.
Okay. Okay,
A
so
little more than a quarter. Not quite.
but that's 77% gone. So you got 27% feeling bad. You got 50% feeling happy. Now, that only leaves you, if you got 77, with 23% left. So are you saying to me that 50% happy, 23% just okay, and then 27% not okay? Is it that way? 50, 23, 27? Because on that scale that we're creating for you, because some of the things you need to do, and I tell all of my patients the same thing, is you have to figure out where you belong on your own value system and your own sense of self and your importance of happiness and contentment and despair. So let's say, just me looking at your life, we recalculate. So now you know there are 3 areas. We have your happiness, where you got your job today, your new career path. You got so much elation and
So that was a spike then, maybe.
yeah, okay, there you go. Now we're talking. Okay, so let's say that occupies 20% of your time. You get happy 20% of your time. That's, I think, is more realistic. As a matter of fact, for most people, it's much less. It's much less. It's like 10%, 15%. But
it was much less than prior to today.
Well, there you go. So it's probably even less, but we're going to go with 10 because what we don't have, we're going to build out over time.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and target these numbers, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's okay.
If your happiness index that we're going to create for you says that 10% of your time, you're so elated. And one of my patients used the word exuberant. So the level of exuberance and joy and happiness and greatness is upon you. Let's say that's 10% of the time. That's pretty decent, kind of high, but still decent. And then let's say the time you spend where you exist with life and you get things accomplished and you talk to the right people, you get the right kind of results, you have the right kind of dreams, you have the right kind of relationship with your husband, you're interacting with your children, and you're building that into something that's tenable and relatable and useful, and you want it to be more permanent state of being for you. So let's call that your middle zone of your happiness index. So your middle zone, you want to spend most of your time in that zone. So if you get 10 points at the top, and let's say 70 points for you, I'll say 70 points. So that's a total of 80. point. So you got, I'm really happy because I am living my life, getting what I need to get done, to despair and pain and hurt and loss and measuring trust with others. When you're down in this area here at the bottom, when you're down here, and then you have your, this is where I belong area, and this is where I like to get to every single time area. Now you have that 10 and that 70 and that 20. And your objective, because the only reason I give you 20 is because I think the day you die on your grave, it will say you died, went to hell, fought the devil, and came back.
Yeah.
So, okay. And that would be your epithet. So with that being said, that 20, we need to reduce that 20, and we need to provide for its elimination with positive and stronger and more productive activity, and not allowing you to be back down in that 20%. That 20% can knock your whole other 80% out, just knock it out. And you can be starting over from scratch again with that 20%. Don't you see it? So your objective is always to have something down in the negative, but it can't be so overwhelming that it poisons everything else that you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And like I said, I think maybe it was a spike, because before today, it has been a long time since I lived my life and not just went through the motions every day. Get up, do this, do that, get up,
That
go to bed.
behavior, that perfunctory behavior, you know, the kind of behavior you just do because it's what you got to do, but you don't really care. Yeah. It's perfunctory.
And I know when it's a good, when I do what I love, it's not work. It's what I love. And so I feel like whether a lot of people's sanctuary might be their home, I think mine is my job. And because I haven't had a job for a few months that I attended regularly, I was living in a perfunctory environment. And it really
just coexisted with nothing.
Yeah. And it really hasn't brought me a lot of joy. And that's just being really transparent. And I haven't been real happy. But I put this face on. I put this face on.
What did you call that face earlier? What did you call that face?
Resting bitch face. And you will never know that I was sad. So I don't want that. I want to be genuinely happy on the inside, on the outside, matching up my mind with my heart. Not what I know is better, but what I feel is better. Not that battlefield and stand in that battlefield all the time. Mm-hmm. But I say the spike in happiness came from, guess what? I got to exit now. I got an exit. See, I got to exit on my front door, got to exit on my back door, got to exit on my bedroom door, but an exit from my home life to truly be who I was intended to be. And hopefully when I come back through my exit door, I can continue that and share that with my family, and that they would be truly able to share that joy with me.
Appreciative and accepting and relatable to that joy. You know what most people call that, Bobby?
What?
Fulfillment. It's very hard to fulfill yourself because it's you judging you. And when you judge you and you measure you, oftentimes because we're all so critical of ourselves, mostly, or biased even, that we fail to accurately measure ourselves or actually understand ourselves. So the way, and you just pointed it out to the audience in the world, the way you fulfill yourself and find that measure is through others, so they can feel your elation, your joy, your success, your greatness. And they can also feel your pain and help you through it. It's called fulfillment. And you have to fulfill yourself in life. But you also must give others the opportunities to try to fulfill themselves, but as well as fulfill you. And if everybody's wandering around your house or your workplace trying to fulfill one another and ensure that those good things come to you that you deserve, and that those bad things that happen to you are understood and supported out of that circumstance, then now you're on the right track. Now, with happiness, I want you to remember something. Can you remember a smell, any smell whatsoever, that takes you back to a certain day, a certain incident, a certain time, a certain feeling, a certain romance, a certain love, a certain understanding? Are there smells in your life just like that?
Yeah, I have two that really stand out to me. And it's the smell of lavender.
Okay. What does that do for you?
And it's comforting for me. And if you recall, I don't know if I think I have discussed this. I used to hide under a lilac bush and I was safe. This is when this lilac bush was connected to my grandmother's house, and it wasn't quite into my dad's yard, but it was huge and it looked like it come out of the house, and you could get up underneath of it. And what I did was made like pulled down or braided the different limbs and stuff so that I would have a little place in there. And
Probably
so
holding
when
you.
those,
Yeah.
yeah. And so when those flowers would bloom, that smell I've carried on. Like any kind of spray is lavender, any kind of essential oil I have in my diffuser is lavender. Like that smell brings me comfort
And security.
and,
And,
and
and that's good.
relaxation.
But remember, you were hiding in a place where you could just be you without any outside interference. And you brought that into your life. And you can remember back being in that little cubbyhole of lilac or lavender and the different smells and the texture and all of that experience. The reason I ask you that question is sometimes I can smell grass, freshly mowed grass. And you know what I found out? That when you smell fresh grass anywhere in the world, it isn't because it's a great thing that the grass was cut, because the grass can actually feel, and it's not a hormone, but it's a off-gassing of the grass, showing its pain. The grass is in pain. It's sharing with all the other grass that I'm hurting here. I'm hurting because that smell. But as a kid or as an adult, you smell fresh grass, you go, oh my God, the grass must be cut. The yard must look well, right? And great right now. So you associate smells with certain circumstances. And I gave you that little information about grass and how it actually feels. And all the grass in your neighborhood, believe it or not, is connected. Underground in the root system is connected some kind of way. So when the grass in your yard feel one thing, the grass across the street that's not been tended feel it as well. That's why it grows so wildly, because it's allowed to grow. And then the more it grows, it becomes greater and greater and greater and gets out of control. We believe as humans that it's a bad thing to have grass all over the place, and it's ugly and it's untidy. And so we need to go in and we need to cut it. But in reality, we're hurting the grass. It's painful. And it's the way they heal themselves by emitting this particular, I don't want to call it a toxin, but this particular off-gassing in order to heal themselves. So in that rudimentary basic understanding of that, sometimes we do that in life. Sometimes we trim off too much of the lives of people, and we start to want to tidy up a person. And that's painful, to cut their grass, to mow their lawn down a little bit, or to exercise your right to trim those hedges and clear that door space out and clean that gutter out. And it oftentimes hurt just as much as your grass and the plants in your neighborhood. And I make that comparison for one reason. Just like we just discussed, That smell takes you to your lavender. It takes you to your cubbyhole. It takes you to your safety. It takes you to your I'm content with me all by myself. Just like that, other sensations using all of your senses. Sometimes you see something and you go, oh my God, that's deja vu. I've been here before. Sometimes we hear something and remember as a child, there used to be a train track, just ding, 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 ding in the background somewhere miles away. And when you hear it, it reminds you of your childhood. Other times do you wear blue jeans, Bobby?
I do.
Okay. Now, we all wear our jeans that we like to wear. We put them on every day and we just wear them and it's a good thing. We maybe have several pairs of them. But every now and again, like when you were 10 years old and your grandma or your dad or your mom or somebody came along and they gave you a pair of fresh, brand new jeans and laid it on your bed, the denim kind of thick.
I didn't like them.
Okay, but you remember that texture. You remember that, and immediately you said, I didn't like them. So along comes somebody from out of town, and they bring in gifts, and they lay these pair of jeans that they saw for you with that kind of material on it. Immediately, you will associate the touch, that tactile relationship with those denims back to your earlier years where you didn't like them. Through touch and smell and sound and vision, as well as a taste, because sometimes you can eat something and it takes you right to your grandmother's lap when you were eating it out of her lap and she was feeding you, spoon feeding you. And you take all of your senses and you try to record, you try to remember. As a matter of fact, I suggest you create a log that when you're in a happy place, don't just realize that you got a great job and that they did a wonderful thing and that you are going to do some great things as a result. But also realize what you smelled, what you heard, what you saw, what you felt, what you understood about that moment. And what was that taste in your mouth like? Yeah, I'm full now. I feel nourished by this experience. I feel elated, exuberant. I love using that word, but I feel this way. Associate all of you with that good feeling.
Like anchors.
Absolutely. You just build yourself benchmarks and anchors of yourself, and you take that chisel just like a mountain climber and put that, I know the name of it too. I'm an ex special forces guy, and we use these things all the time, just can't remember. And I'm also a ranger. It's U.S. Army Ranger. I know the pings or pitons or whatever you call it. You bang that into the side or the crack of the mountain and you start climbing. And you have to anchor yourself like that to not just the event itself, but to the whole you. If you want to ever overcome an addiction, if you want to ever overcome any kind of pain, you have to anchor all of you to it to understand it. And then once you have discerned it well enough, then you can deal with it. But you can't just stick your toe in the water about it. Okay, I won't do this anymore. Okay, that's bad for me. Okay, stop doing it. Okay, I got 575 days being sober. That's all good. And it's just abstinence or stopping you from doing it. But to really make that decision to quit and let it go and move on with your life and not live in, I got 515 days doing it right. Because all you're doing is avoiding it. You're not dealing with it. And even if you are dealing with it, you're making it an overwhelming set of circumstances for yourself. I do believe that's just, we have a norm therapy for addiction that'll be coming out soon, but it's a whole nother mind process. Once you can equate everything about that smell, sound, hearing, and everything, a tactile touch with that elation, with that joy, and do the same thing for your middle ground, for your, this is where I exist. This is how I am when I go to work in the morning, when I get my coffee. Do you drink coffee, by the way, or tea?
Coffee.
You grab a coffee. Yeah. Then, and I want a little cream. Maybe I have some, whatever. I don't even know the terms of that.
Black, just black
Exactly.
coffee.
I love black coffee, and every now and then a little almond milk just to cut the acid. Other than that, I can't take anything else in my coffee. But I agree with you there. And then you exist in this area, but it's a productive existence. It's just, it should be your norm. That's why we call it norm therapy. It's not for me to give you my normal. and say, Bobby, okay, I normally do this and I normally do that, so you need to do it too. That's not what we do. It's your normal that we need to find. And I think you're finding it very well, by the way. You have to find your normal. And that 70%, that middle ground, that 10 and 70, that elation, and that 70, that's where you find your norm. Remember, your strengths are found in your weaknesses. And once they're found and you deal with them, they become your normal. That strength is utilized on all areas or indexes within your 70%. Now, what we're going to try to do is make your 70% 85%. So your despair will become 5 over time. And it's not easy, only because it's unfamiliar territory. You've never had a graph of your life that you could depend on, that you bank on, that you make work for you. You say what's 10, what's 70, what's 20. You get to dictate those terms. And when violation occurs, one thing we do as humans that always causes us problems in life. We know better, but then we don't do better. And why? Because we violate our own principles. We say, my principle is that I will not steal. And then one day we steal. We violate our own principles. My principle is that caring for my family is my top priority. And then one day we don't. And my principle is I won't be out in the streets after 11. You said your door was locked at 11. But that particular night, they didn't because you knew he was out there. You did not violate your principle by opening or keeping your door open because it's a matter of life. Remember, there's only 2 things in life you should ever defend. And you defended it well because it's not just your honor, but it's the safety and livelihood of your son is why you made that exception to that principle about your household and how you maintain that principle. And don't look upon yourself and put it in a despair column or in the I'm content with it column, because it's not normal that you should break your own principle to accommodate someone else. But in that particular case, that was the right thing to do. And that angel, that
Go to bus driver.
most humans, bus driver, I would sit down and write her a letter and send it to her boss and tell her how great she is, and how caring and kind she was, and how to be so attentive to their passengers and caring to her community. I think that is something that's warranted from you as the adult and the authority figure, that she is recognized kind of as a heroine, the female part of hero. I don't know if our whole audience know, but a lot of people say hero for everybody, but she's a heroine. Just like a man would do it, he would be a hero. And as that heroine of your son and champion of your cause and your things, your son, as a champion of something of yours, she needs to be recognized, just like you're being recognized right now by me for doing those kinds of things and conducting yourself in a certain way that you can accommodate the life that you've always wanted for your children, and especially your husband. He may be a pain in the ass. He may be the greatest guy in the world. He may be a lot of things, but he is your husband, and he's there when you need him. And when he's not, you know how to put him on track. Mom used to say, man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck. She can turn that head any direction she wants. And so at the end of the day, you're playing your role, living it, but you got to be able to measure yourself, Bob. And you lose yourself in the details sometimes. Sometimes things get so overwhelming to you, you just lose yourself in the details. So to always keep yourself on track and not lose yourself, measure yourself. Have a realistic measuring tool, your new happiness meter, or index, where you go from 10 to 80 to 10, or you go from 10 to 70 to 20, or you go to 50 and 25 and 25. But whatever that ratio or balance that you need to find for your normal, that should be up to you. It shouldn't be dependent upon what Michael Gibson says today, or what anyone else says to you. It should be based on you and your discernment of your circumstance and your realistic and honest approach to your own measure, being brutally honest with yourself. Yeah, I give myself an 80 today because it makes me feel good. That's not the right reason to give yourself 80. You give yourself 80 because you are really content and you're really there, and you're not going to lie to yourself anymore or condition yourself to believe things that are not true. That's why you do bad things, because you have conditioned yourself to say, that's okay, I can get away with it, or it's bad, but. And that's how these terrible things occur. I'm happy for you in so many ways I can't even express. I know you don't see the great elation on my face, but I'm living vicariously through you in your life. I'm trying to see who you are in your daily operation, what you got to get up with. And, okay, you know, I'm just picturing you with a sweater, your sweatshirt you're trying to get on, and so because it's cold in the house, and you're trying to get a little breakfast. You got your coffee going. You probably a bra strap is hanging right here, and then you're like, what the heck do I do next? And then you just figure it out. Things just start to fall into place. People start yapping at you, Mom, Grandma, hey, baby, can you get that? But this is your normal. This is something you created. This is your monster. You can corral it. You can handle it. You can deal with it, even if it's overwhelming. Sometimes the overwhelming good and overwhelming communications, when somebody says, Mom, kids, and then a husband, this, that, the other, that means they need and want you. You're the central focus of all of their activity that moves that whole household along. And I didn't tell you to do it.
And that's a lot.
I know. And that's how your day should start, knowing that it's a lot, but more importantly, knowing that you can handle it.
Yeah.
And not letting it get in the way with your alter ego that you need to have on your game face on, and it needs to be real. It can't be fake when you're dealing with people in pain.
No, because just like I know, they would know.
Exactly.
I know somebody who's not in the moment present with me. If I'm in pain and I go where in the past when I went to see counselors or therapists, and I've been through plenty, I know when they're sincere and when they're just there to get a paycheck.
Tell us about norm therapy. I need your opinion. Tell us, what are you getting out of norm therapy right now?
A very caring and compassionate, everyone that I've come into contact with.
So it's okay. You know, if I shed a tear, just act. I'm act like I'm a big boy and just do like this. No, I got something.
I'm so truly grateful. Like, Kim has helped me tremendously, and she doesn't probably even know it. I've told her, but she literally walked me through a crisis one day when I was driving, and Kelly is always so gentle in her reminders. Like, she's consistent and she's constant, but it's Kelly, and that's her personality, and she cares.
Absolutely.
And then for you, like, it's not about trying to get me to understand a different way or something new. It's about you helping me to identify what I already have within me, and helping me identify what is good and useful and what is not useful. It's almost like helping me figure out my normal. What is my normal? What do I want it to be like? And what is within my power to create that?
Absolutely. Well, you got that. Keep going.
And so with that, it empowers me to help the next person, or use a term or something that has been coined out of my sessions that I know really stuck out to me, or that has helped me. Maybe it was a phrase or like the one word for the year thing. So I learned the hard way with that. But well, last year I picked family as a verb, and I ripped myself an asshole trying to figure out why my family was not the functional family that I was looking for, and critiqued everyone so hard that I was miserable with my words. So I asked my mentor, like, hey, can I change my word? Because this is not working for me. You
So
know,
the world will know I need to recap on something.
uh,
Uh, when you're a part of the norm therapy sessions, you get a mentor and there's training and all of that. You get mentors, you get support. Kim and Kelly are Kim Carpenter. She's the manager of norm therapy worldwide. And Kelly is the head of the nonprofit, Kelly Dean. She's the head of Abuse Refuge org, which is a registered 501c3 with the IRS. You can look it up as Abuse Refuge Inc. And she runs that organization. And when we all try to take, we have plenty of norm therapists and people, I think it's up to about almost 100 people in the organization, but the managers, the supervisors, everybody gets involved in just about every case we can in some fashion or another, peripheral or on the outskirts of every case. Everyone has some kind of input, whether they're creating graphics, whether they're providing notes or whatever. We all take a vested interest in every single patient and every single person that we have in the organization without. Most people say it's the best place they've ever worked, ever, whenever they're involved with volunteering for the organization. It's really amazing because we care about people. And I think people genuinely understand. I'm glad you pointed that out to us. And thank you for that testimonial. We got 4 minutes left, Bobby. What's the most important message you want to share in your first day at work? When is your first day at work?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, so I'll be talking to you again on Thursday, so I'll ask you this again. But think about it. What is the first thing you want to convey to the world when you show up in your new workplace? You got to give that some thought. Don't tell me now. Just give it some thought as homework. You know, the message that it's almost impossible to have a second first look. So your first look at anything, when people first look at you, you want that to be something to build on and something to treasure and make that your benchmark of who you are and your standard of self without, excuse the expression, the bitch face, but with that, I'm here to work and get some good done face, and I participate, I belong with you guys, and we can collectively together, us can get something accomplished here. And I think that is something I want you to orient around your process when you're coming up with who you want to have them see day one, and to be consistent in being seen this way and only building upon it as you move along in that workspace. The first day, matter of fact, the pre-first day is very important. So you can figure out what it is to get me where I need to be to go in for this tomorrow day. And you need to have that day after work, even if it's condensed into an hour, in order to make you functional the next day and useful. Always
And I
useful.
kind of got a feel for everybody. I went around and I met everybody today on the tour. So I got a feel for kind of everybody's role. And what I found is that everybody wears many hats. And I'm used to that. Like that's a feeling, it's a vibe that's where I fit, you know. Just the same kind of vibe with Aro. It's the same kind of feeling. Like I look at my extended families as family because you don't let family down.
That's it. Or you try
So
not to. Sometimes we do, and it's
you
not our
try
fault
not
most of the time, but sometimes we have to let them down. But so long as you got that, I think you got the right approach to showing up. People want to feel like you're a part of something, and you want to feel that, and you want people to feel that about you, and you want to feel that about them. You're part of something and not the something, but you're a part of something greater than yourself with a greater good and purpose. I think that's very important. So I'm going to close out by, I got to read something Kelly keeps telling me to read, and I always stop. And so if you enjoyed this session and you got something out of today's session, please show us some love by sharing this video, subscribing to our channel, and liking it. Our next norm therapy session will be, of course, this Thursday, January 11th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested in norm therapy sessions, go to normtherapy.com to purchase the session. They're not free anymore. You should have came to us over the last 5 years for the free sessions. They're no longer free. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday. Bobby, today keep your happiness index, write it down, and
I'm gonna go do it right when we get off here.
start living it. And from now on in our session, bring a pad with you so we can just take notes during the session. I think it'll help you even more have contemporary notes. Listen, you have a great day. Enjoy your new position and your thought of having it, and just have those dreams and those expectations of yourself. And I'm very proud of you, and I'm sure our audience, and I'll give you my own round of applause for you today. And I think you deserve this. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Okay. See you on Thursday.
See you on Thursday.
Have a good next